John, Daniel, do you like the Game Boy?
Yeah, but I wish it had something just a little bit more.
I know, right? If only it was a little bit more advanced. Fortunately,
Mm.
Nintendo hooked us up, and we have our Game Boy Advance, which is our first real evolution of the Game Boy series, beyond just sort of a color upgrade with, well, the Game Boy Color. And yeah, we're here to talk about the top 10 Game Boy Advance games of all time. Daniel, John, what's our history with the Game Boy Advance?
Oh man, I had the original Game Boy. I had probably just a few games for the original Game Boy. I didn't really have whole lot for it. And then once the Game Boy Advance had came along, that was like the first handheld I actually owned. I feel like I've had handhelds before. I've had a Game Gear. Do we count that massive Titan?
It
I mean, I
counts.
had
It
a Game
counts.
Gear. We
You
did
can
a
hold
whole
it
we
in
did
your
a whole top
hands.
10.
I could my baby hands could barely hold that thing up, but I guess it does count. But yeah, the Game Boy Advance is something that I really got into. Majority of handhelds was just with the Game Boy Advance. I mostly had Pokemon on the Game Boy and Game Boy Color, but once I had a Game Boy Advance, there was just a whole library that opened up to me, especially with how many ports that thing had. I played a lot more than I realized growing up.
I'm exactly the same. So I had original Game Boy and then Game Boy Advance, and it's wild just how much of a jump that thing was. Because you're going from something that was conceptualized in the late 80s, and then you're just jumping all the way to the 2000s. And the amount of games on that thing is nuts, both from what Daniel was saying, both from a new perspective and a legacy perspective. And I didn't grow up with Super Nintendo, so I got to play all those games for the first time, while also mixing it with the new library. But it's also a weird library. Like, there's no exclusive 2D Mario. So you've got like Mario versus Donkey Kong is kind of the closest thing, or the Mario Advance 4 e-reader levels. But then you've got all this other weird stuff like two Fire Emblems, three F-Zeros, two Metroids. Their priorities were in the right place.
Very much so. It was a time of us getting a lot of games that were kind of exclusive to Japan for a while because
Mm.
there was Famicom Wars and we finally got Advance Wars. We never got any of that. This is the time we finally got Fire Emblem, as you said before. We started getting experimental with WarioWare, and at least in Japan, they got Rhythm Heaven, which is very topical now, considering that Switch Direct. But yeah, it was a very interesting thing going through and tallying these games because I realized there's kind of three pillars to the Game Boy Advance that appeared over the course of its 3-year lifespan. You have your original titles, you have your SNES ports, and then you have licensed games.
Mm.
So many licensed games. And I don't know their quality because I was beyond licensed games at this point. So I wasn't picking those up for the most part. But good God, that a lot of people list licensed games for this
Yeah,
one.
I remember the Monsters Inc. GBA game didn't have a save battery, so it had passwords, which you think of as like an NES thing, but there were some GBA games like that didn't have save battery. I played a lot of crap. I played a bunch of Fairly Odd Parents games, had Fairly Odd Parents on the Game Boy Video.
We had Game
There's
Boy
definitely a lot of
Video.
licensed stuff.
Did you ever play those Hamtaro games on the Game Boy Advance?
I wish I was that cool as a kid. I've gone back to them now, but no, not growing up. I didn't.
I remember watching a few episodes of Hamtaro on Toonami and being like, "What the heck is this?" I didn't think it realized. I didn't realize it had Game Boy games, and I definitely wouldn't be one to pick them up. But apparently they're great, and maybe they'll come to NSO because they were published by Nintendo. So,
God, I hope so. Give us the Hamtaro.
Yeah.
but yeah, this much like both of you, this was my chance to experience this a lot of the Super Nintendo that I missed out on the first time around because I just didn't grow up with the Super Nintendo. I had the Genesis. So it was fantastic for that, even though I ended up playing mostly original titles at that point. I
Interesting.
picked up I got some of the major ones. Like I played A Link to the Past. I played Yoshi's Island. Those were sort of the big ones that I missed out on. I had, Mario World that I played with a friend, but this is my first time owning it myself, that sort of thing. Um,
Mm.
but its original titles did really impress me. And there's some great stuff on here for its limited lifespan.
It's going to be a really hard one to predict because we're basically guessing two libraries. Personally, I ranked mine as just, the games that I associate with GBA in their original titles, but I imagine a lot of people associate Super Nintendo games with it. I certainly played a lot of Super Nintendo games with it, but I tried to keep that separate.
Yeah, there's just so much in this library that we can see, and like you were mentioning how there's not really any original like 2D Mario with this platform. I think that's probably why the Super Mario Advance series is so poorly named throughout this entire
Oh, it is
thing. They're
awful.
so out of order. But
Super Mario Brothers 3 is the 4th game.
they started with Super Mario Advance, which was Super Mario Brothers 2.
Yes.
And I think they probably went with that one because it has such a unique identity compared to any other ones, and probably the least people might have played that way back on the NES. So going with that, doing little voiceovers, adding that to which would become a trend throughout the entire Mario Advance series. Yeah, it really did its best to have its own identity, even if it wasn't specifically its own game. And yeah, there's some really fun ones in there.
They did a lot with Mario, despite him not getting his own original 2D game, because this is the birth of the Mario and Luigi series, and
first handheld Mario Kart as well.
Yeah, so
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what rose to the top 10 on this handheld. But before we get into our guessing, we got some stats here for you. I thought the Game Boy Advance might be the one to break the N64's record of 1,270 votes. It did not quite make it, but it was close. 1,228 votes in total for the Game Boy Advance and their top 10s, spread across 339 games, which I believe is our third highest amount of variety of games, or maybe fourth. It's up there. So there's
yeah.
Again, in 3 years, we got that. That's more than variety than we had for the N64. So,
there's a lot of variety, and I kind of miss this era because everything made for GBA was pretty much exclusive to GBA, and you don't get that anymore. Like with Switch, you get some cool exclusive games, but they obviously go everywhere, so you don't really get those distinct console libraries anymore. But anything a third party made for GBA was made. That was a GBA game.
Yeah, because you have a game like whatever for the consoles, and then you have the GBA version. It's completely different.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it was such a weird era, and especially how much the GBA kind of was in tandem with the GameCube. There was like the connectivity cables, you can connect to them and have them react that way. Some titles like Metroid Fusion and Metroid Prime came out on the same day and had some kind of connectivity with them as well. It was such a weird time, and
such a good day for Metroid fans.
Yeah,
we'll never have a day like that again.
We are disrespecting the N-Gage here. The N-Gage did get some multi-platform Game Boy Advance games. Sonic N, that's Sonic Advance.
Can't forget it. Of course.
My
You're not doing a top 10 N-Gage.
if you associate a game with the N-Gage and it's on GBA, you could have voted for it here. Like if Sonic N was your childhood, you could have voted for Sonic Advance.
Oh, your poor childhood. Anyway, let's actually get to the voting of the votes here. What made the top 10? So let's begin with number 10. Daniel, John, what is our number 10 Game Boy Advance game of all time?
What's your heart telling you, Daniel?
Oh man, this is the first time I'm on one of these, by the way. So I'm just like, oh geez, how do I introduce myself to this?
I finally get to make you sweat.
This might be one that is a little bit more out of pocket, but I still hope that there's some kind of attention to it because I know not everybody likes it. Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, specifically on Game Boy Advance. That game, I love my deck building games. And this one, I know not everyone is a fan of it. Even the hardcore Kingdom Hearts fans may not be a fan of it, but I still think the Game Boy Advance version might be the better version of this. That's why I'm playing the Recom PS2 version.
It's the only one that Europeans got as well, so maybe there's some international bias to the GBA.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess Mario Kart Super Circuit. Big popular game. I don't think it's good enough to be further than 10, though.
Oh, that game.
All right. At number 10, both of you are incorrect. And to have our baseline for points here, it got 2,046 points. So we are dealing with a ton of points here for this top 10. But yeah, with 2,046 points, Golden Sun.
Golden Sun
at 10.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I thought this would be quite a lot higher, but I'm glad
I
it's here.
yeah, it's nice it's
Yeah.
here. I mean, fortunately, it has been re-released on the NSO, so it and the Lost Age are both available to play, which is great. Because I mean, people are still begging for sequels to this.
Mm. I
I
saw
am.
someone ask about whether we were going to combine them as one game, and technically you can, but I don't think the Lost Age would have ever been ranked higher than the first one. 'Cause it's just
It's
the iconic one, you know. It's just,
yeah,
when you think Golden Sun, this is typically what you think about.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of weird because I feel like you can't complete it without the Lost Age. I rank the Lost Age higher because it literally ends on a cliffhanger. They are the same
yeah.
game, and so there was not enough room physically to fit both of them in one cartridge. So they did a whole
Sure.
kind of somewhat a Sonic 3 and Knuckles sort of thing where they had to put a separate cartridge out, and you can carry data from one to the other. But yeah, I mean, I've been recently playing Golden Sun actually on stream, and I realized that there are some bits of it that probably haven't aged well, like.
Mhm.
Ooh, I was on that boat. You remember that boat? That dialogue goes
Oh,
forever.
this can
That
be a
is
chatty game.
oh my god.
It
I replayed it a while ago, and it is a game that has so much to say and so little so much talking and so little to say.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of that. But in terms of what it does really well, though, you know, you think today people rag on about Pokemon and it's like lackluster visuals. Back then, Pokemon had static sprites that didn't move. Like it was just a
oh
little
yeah.
sprite, didn't animate at all. Golden Sun was fully animating all these attacks in these really beautiful ways. It was stunning. It really used the 32 bits of the GBA to its extent. In the overworld, it's beautiful, but in battles, it's just this really nice look. And I think it looks
Particle effects
best
they
on the
did.
small screen. When
Oh,
you blow
yeah.
it up to a
Like
TV, it can look a little bit much sometimes, but when it's like minimized down, it can be just beautiful.
yeah, despite any criticism I might say on it now, like it's still a marvel to look at even today. Like even on the overworld, you have all the little sprites. They do little bouncy movements, like they're talking to each
Yeah.
other. They move around, their little head turns. They feel so full of life and animated. And as you're saying in battles are so snappy and quick, which I appreciate. I don't even really mind the random battle encounter when you can just go in and out so quickly in a battle and like doing any of the summons, any of the special attacks, the special critical hits. There's so much flavor put into this game. And the soundtrack by Motoi Sakuraba, he was at his prime during this time, doing the
Mm.
Tales series for Camel, the Mario sports games. I always say that go to the menu music for Mario Tennis on the N64. That's just a Golden Sun like town
Oh,
theme.
Yeah.
It's just
it really is.
unmistakable. But yeah, a wonderful title.
Mhm. Yeah, and I remember needing a bit of a guide for it because the puzzles later on got tough for the
Mm.
dungeons, and it is weird to think about how it is only technically half a game, but they do a decent enough job of ending it, and it always felt it did feel separate just because of the perspective shift into the Lost Age, because you got Isaac's party and you got Felix's party, and who does everybody remember from Golden Sun? Isaac.
Yeah. I'm a hypocrite because I love Golden Sun 1 and 2, and I'm always begging for a new one, but I've never played the DS game. I know it's not meant to be great, but I feel like I should,
It's
you know,
fine.
yeah. I should at least play
Yeah.
it though at some point.
Yeah.
Start on is interesting. It definitely continues it has the same characters and story, but it's like a time skip. So it's really interesting to see like where these characters are years later.
Mhm.
It's interesting for that. And I think people should give it a chance at the very least. But first two, I mean, they're classic. And I'm not surprised Golden Sun is up on the top 10. I think they should be here.
Yeah.
I think it was definitely a landmark title for the handheld. So, yeah, there is our number 10. So, John, Daniel, what is our number 9 Game Boy Advance game of all time, beating out Golden Sun by about a little over 100 points?
This one smells like Advance Wars. Give it a sniff. I think you can smell Advance Wars in the air.
Okay.
I there's like only one in my list that's actually a remake of a title that's come before it, and I think that there's enough new with it, enough different with it, and some recency bias perhaps with NSO. I'm gonna say Super Mario Advance 4, Mario Brothers 3,
Hmm.
because even
Ooh.
though even though it's like it's All Stars version, it does have a lot new to it. It has you can play Mario Brothers with everyone. It has the e-reader stages.
Those e-reader
Let's see.
stages have really come to the forefront thanks to the NSO version.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's I mean, because I never played them before, and then put that on the NSO. I was like, yes, it gives that version so much more value.
ever since
Yeah.
the Wii U version came out, they had all those as well. I'm glad people are playing that even more now with NSO.
Yeah. All right. At number 9, both of you are incorrect. Number
Oh,
9 is Fire Emblem: The Blazing Blade, or just Fire Emblem in the
Oh.
the
States.
Blazing Blade. Man, I almost said Sacred Stones. That would have been funny. It would have been close.
I was thinking that Advance Wars might place higher than Fire Emblem on the GBA. Just I think there was a bit more of an international, well, at least in the West, I think there was more of a feeling for Advance Wars. So I feel like that might still be on here. But it's cool that Fire Emblem's come around to a point where people recognize it, back on the GBA. And it's a very different flavor, too, to what people might be used to today.
This was my introduction to Fire Emblem. Gave me my lifelong love of Lynn because of that intro and how great she was. I didn't beat it for the longest time though, because I got a little bit farther in and kind of got bogged down with the not wanting to lose anybody at the time and not being really that great at it. But it was smart to release this one to the States because they added that Lynn prologue that serves as a tutorial for people. This eases you into Fire Emblem. Going back to it, maybe a little bit tougher, which I think was why some people prefer Sacred Stones to Blazing Blade. But I mean, I think it still stands out. Amazing, great sprite work for Fire Emblem on the Game Boy Advance, especially the crits. You got some really good stuff here.
Man, this is why I'm here for these Fire Emblem titles. This was my first introduction to Fire Emblem beyond just playing as Marth and Roy in Smash Brothers. And yeah, I was like, why is Marth so buff? Because Hector is like the actual beefy guy, and I was like, oh no, that's a different character, and that's Roy's father. So once I started to learn more about it, I got super interested and invested. Yeah, the characters. This is like Advanced Wars has where you're like building units, but here the units are actually all characters, and if you lose them, then they die and they're gone. And that seemed like this a standard thing to me. I guess I never thought about it just like having these units be expendable. Like they all have a personality and goals and all that. And yeah, there's just so much to this game that I just like love it. I played it several times over. When you beat the game, well, at one point, once as Ellawood's perspective, you can then play the game in Hector's perspective. There's a few extra chapters. It's a harder mode. There's a lot of replayability in that way. And one of the things I really loved is that you have your avatar character. So like you're in the story, but you're not like interfering. Like, you're like an actual character who's like interacting with the rest of the characters in a large way that affects the story too much. But you still feel like you're there with the characters. So it's not like Robin, for example, who is a major player. You're just kind of along for the ride. And I miss that kind of perspective because the characters will look at you, they'll talk to you and ask you things here and there, and you'll feel like you're there with them. It's a lot more personal that way. I miss
Yeah,
that.
you're just the tactician. You tell us what to do, and because it seems to be working out, we're surviving. So, do you have much history with this Fire Emblem game, John?
No, I came back to it later. I didn't get into Fire Emblem until the Wii. So I knew of Marth and Roy through Melee, but they weren't really answered to me for a while. But I went back to this years later, and I love just the snappy nature of pixel art Fire Emblem. There's just such a different vibe to it. And yeah, I do really like them. I don't know if I'd rank this quite so high, but I had a good time with it, though.
I think it's one of those. I think it ranks so high because it's an introduction. It's like I knew about Marth and Roy. We finally get to play this game after how long, which I'm sure was a boon to people who were Fire Emblem fans before it came to the States or the West. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, that is our number 9 GBA game of all time. So it's time to find out what number 8 is. Beating out Fire Emblem by about 60 points.
I feel like we've shouted out some pretty likely ones already. Because there's a few games that I want to say later on because I feel like they deserve more. What are you thinking, Daniel?
Oh boy, there's so many major ones that can hit so high. But I wonder if this would be at this point. I'm gonna we're gonna say Pokemon, but Fire Red or Leaf Green. Not quite Gen 3 yet, but I think
I know how they operate, Daniel. They're going to put Pokemon. They'll both be number 1 and 2. That's what the audience does. That's what they do. I'll say Rhythm Heaven. I think it's a game that deserves to be really high, but because of its Japanese exclusivity, it might not rank so high. Mother 3 will be an exception to that, but I think Rhythm Heaven maybe won't get quite as high.
All right. At number 8, you are both incorrect. Number 8 is actually Castlevania Aria of Sorrow.
I was hanging on to that. I was going to say that later because I think it's like one of the best games on the system. But it's great that it's recognized. A lot of the time with these sort of lists, it's very Nintendo heavy, and it's hard for a third party to squeeze in there. But this one absolutely deserves to be there. It's just, Symphony of the Night gets the credit for being, that sort of, pinnacle Igavania game. But there's a selection on GBA and DS which are equal, if not better. And I think you can easily debate that this could be better than the Symphony of the Night. I think it depends on the day that I'm feeling, but let's just say today that I'm feeling it is better than Symphony.
I think what helps is the sheer variety of Aria of Sorrow. The idea of being able to each enemy in the game gets you a new ability makes it really addicting that you can easily I want to see them all. So I'm going to defeat all the enemies until I get their souls and I can equip their souls and see what I get. And you can find these amazing combinations and just expand further and further. And it's challenging, but not too challenging. You have this game that ostensibly takes place at the end of the Castlevania timeline and kind of puts a nice little bow on the entire series, which is unexpected to say the least. And it's just it looks great. The music is great. They got the graphics down. They got the pacing down. It's like they were trying to chase Symphony of the Night with Circle of the Moon and Harmony of Dissonance. And it was with Aria of Sorrow that they finally found it because the others were a little too different or a little too close. And this was the one that really hit that right balance. And Aria of Sorrow is absolutely the best of the Castlevania games on GBA.
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh yeah. That's why I'm all conflicted now. My list is all jumbled because these great titles are already hitting like the lower half. Oh boy.
This should be higher, but
it should be. I mean, this is my number 2, almost number 1. It's very close.
Yeah, it's not as famous as your Metroids and your Zeldas, but it deserves to be up there with them.
By the Castlevania Advance Collection, people. It's good stuff, and it goes on sale a lot. So pick that up. But yeah, Aria of Sorrow, I can't as the Castlevania guy, I cannot recommend it enough. It is one of the best. So be there. All right. Let's move on to our number 7 Game Boy Advance game of all time, beating out Aria of Sorrow by, this is our first big jump, 500 points.
Ooh. Well, we've already said and incorrectly guessed Advance Wars, Rhythm Heaven, Mario Advance 4. Was there another one that we said? I can't recall. But I feel like those 3 are
I said
probably
a Pokemon game, but that was Fire Red, Leaf Green.
Right. Which all those are probably here. So I don't know whether to guess one again, but I'm going to do an unlikely guess because I don't think it's actually going to be here, but it'd be cool if it is. F-Zero Climax.
Oh man, I was thinking that in this list as well because it's so good, but it's also extremely recent that most people even got a chance to play it.
Right. Who has played F-Zero Climax more than Castlevania? It's unlikely that it's here.
In the last few months.
Yeah, to be safe, I'd reiterate one that we've already said, but it's up to you.
Oh man, do I dare? Let's put. But these are all good though. What if we put Metroid Fusion right here instead.
You
Give
are
me Metroid
correct that
Fusion.
is the lesser of the two Metroids, because Zero Mission's like perfect.
I also
Ooh,
tried to
getting
not put
spicy.
any more like remakes and whatnot,
Right.
but I'll go Fusion.
All right. At number 7, Daniel, you're incorrect. Just gonna throw you guys for a little bit here. No, at number 7, Mother 3.
Oh, what?
That's really surprising.
That's
Surprising in that it's low, or surprising that it made the top 10 despite
No,
never being
I knew it made the
localized?
top 10 because
I'm surprised that I'm not, given its situation. Like, because Mother 3, I mean, if there's any game on GBA that I would call arts, Mother 3 is arts.
Yeah,
That's an
yeah.
art form on pixelated format. It's the characters, the story, beautifully told. The art style may not be the most it may not look like Golden Sun or more the most complicated, but it doesn't need to, because the way that it tells and portrays the story and world, the way it communicates is so beautifully done. And it's just always a shame that this doesn't get translated for more people, because the fact that it made this list at all is impressive, because it's not translated.
Right.
People who
You
worked
got to
on
take
it.
into account how many people actually bother with emulators or reproduction carts in order to play it in English. So,
Mhm.
I mean,
But like
this
more than any other non-localized game, I feel like Mother 3 has the most love. I know so many people that have played this. I know so many people that have reproduction cartridges just so they can play it on their real GBA. And it is one of the best games on the console. I think I had it at like number 1 or number 2 on my list. It's in many ways more ambitious and better than Earthbound was. You've got that cool sort of rhythmic battle system, which isn't really explained that much, but if you get into it, you can like time your button presses. It's super emotional. I think it deserves to be here, but if it got a global release, I think it would be far, far, far higher than number 7.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah,
I mean,
this
to be
is
honest, I've still not played Mother 3. It's on my to-do list and it's coming up soon, but I just not reached it yet. So
you gotta prepare yourself for that one. Yeah, this is number 2 on my list. Mother 3 is way up there for me, and I'll never forget my first time playing it. I had it on my DS. I had a really like natural experience with it because it was my DS Lite, and that was during some rough times in college. And God, that game just it still hits very emotionally, no matter when I play it. There's some really amazing parts of this game that they stick with you. And yeah, the Mother series is just so wonderfully done, and there's reasons why people have the outcry to have this be translated is so loud.
Yeah.
But there's
Maybe
also a
one day.
lot of things in there, from my understanding, that make it very difficult to localize.
There's a few things in there, but I think if you want to play Mother 3, don't just play it. You know, maybe one day they'll localize it, but the unofficial translation is really good. I wouldn't hold off. Just play it.
Yeah, makes sense. But yeah, made the top 10, but not the top 5. I'm sure that's going to shock quite a few people. I saw that in the live audience, that there were a lot of shocked faces for that one. So we've got 6 games that placed above it. So, John, Daniel, what is our number 6 Game Boy Advance game of all time?
Daniel, 6 isn't that many, is it? So we haven't got that much to guess.
There's not much room anymore already.
And
It
there's
dries
probably
up quick.
there's probably 2 Pokemon in there, so we're really talking 4. There's probably Zelda in there, so we're talking 3. There's probably Metroid in there, so we're talking 2. And then your guesses just start to get lower and lower, and there's so many games I want to say. I'll say Sonic Advance for this one.
Sonic Advance. Let's see. Well, this assuming that people enjoyed this one more than the first one, I'm gonna just do a shot in the dark. I'll say Fire Emblem: The Sacred Stones instead. Maybe there's that one in there. Who knows? Maybe all the votes were taken by Blazing Blade, but I'm gonna give it a shot anyways.
All right. At number 6, beating out Mother 3 by 150 points. Daniel, you were correct in the past.
Huh?
Pokemon Red, FireRed, and Leaf Green.
Oh, this is out of character for the voters.
FireRed.
Yep. FireRed and Leaf Green at number 6.
Did Leaf Green get more than FireRed? Or
I
did
don't
FireRed
know
get the
because
most
I
votes?
just combined them.
That's fine. I feel like Leaf
Yeah.
Green should have gotten higher. It's got the cooler Pokemon in. I think these are really good remakes. And it started the remake train off. It's really cool to return to Kanto and be able to get running boots and run around. It's nice having those sort of quality of life improvements. It's nice to expand the Pokedex more. I think that they're really good.
Yeah, there was a lot about this that I enjoyed. Just going back to it, it felt so weird because I guess I wasn't really a big fan of Gen 3, but to play this game in like that kind of art style with the Game Boy Advance capabilities, with that sound font as well, like I guess it carried some of that identity with it as well. So I guess I don't enjoy it as much as other Pokemon games in the franchise or as other remakes even. But it still did some really cool things. It actually expanded as well to get to the those new islands. Also gets
Yeah.
add some more to
Mhm.
it, which was really cool to see. Like the what's beyond Kanto and things like that. But yeah, this is still it's a classic. It's Gen 1. The Gen 1ers are always Gen winning out there. So
It's funny to think that this remake really only came about because, well, they didn't have any way to trade up from the first 2 gens, so they needed to remake Gen 1 in order to allow for all the Pokemon to be available uh, in this generation and beyond.
I'm not sure I actually knew that was the reason they did it, but it
I
makes sense.
don't know if that is the reason, but it feels like the reason. Like that's
Mm.
I think a kind of a major factor. Just that all the Pokemon are available since they were not in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald.
Mm.
So
It was
Yeah.
a really cool way to show how much of a jump Game Boy hardware was
oh
too.
my gosh,
Because there aren't that many Game Boy to Game Boy Advance remakes. I can't think of any apart from this one. But yeah, it just shows you like not only are we going full color, not just limited Game Boy color, but full color palette, and then you get just these crazy different sprites.
hmm it's interesting going back to it, but too because um, it threw me off how much tutorializing there is. There's a lot more tutorializing in this game compared to others. Like it really breaks down every little aspect. Like it treats like,
Mm.
oh, this is your first Pokemon game, so here's how to do everything. So
But they came with the wireless link cables.
Oh,
FireRed and Leaf
yeah.
Green. That was cool. And then, But
Yeah.
then GS came out like 2 years later, and
we just have it installed in there, so you don't have to
Yeah.
worry about it anymore. There you go. But yeah, I think it's great to be in there. It definitely threw me off as a kid because I was a Pokemon Blue user, so I'm like, where's Water Blue? Oh gosh, but yeah, Pokemon FireRed and Leaf Green at number 6, which brings us to the top 5. And I can tell you right now, number 5 over Pokemon beat it by 1,000, not 1,000. Actually, yeah, 1,080 points. Like it is a massive jump from 6 to 5.
Crazy. Okay.
John, how funny would it be if it was Emerald just right above FireRed Leaf Green?
So with third versions, we combine them all together. So Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald will be together. But I don't think there's a chance that Pokemon isn't number 1. I don't think that's maybe,
Oh.
but I thought FireRed would be number 2. So maybe it is. I don't know.
Well, I'm gonna go with. My God, there's five spaces for this.
It's not enough.
Let's hit with Mario Luigi Superstar Saga.
That's a really good guess. That is a really, really good guess. I'm going to stick with Sonic Advance again because I feel like it kind of took the spotlight as the system's platformer without a 2D Mario to show run it.
That makes sense. All right, at number 5, Daniel, I'm not pulling your leg this time. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga.
Oh, baby.
Nice. Very,
My
very good
boys.
guess.
My boys are here.
Wait,
Oh,
was
man.
this the system's like main Mario?
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, this is the big Mario game I played, and I fell in love with it. I'd have distinct memories of just hanging out in my room playing this game constantly, and just seeing all the humor that had to came into play, seeing all the different places you would go, having those interactions with Fawful. at the time, it was a big deal that the Koopalings came back because I'm like, oh my God, they're back.
Yeah.
It's been so long. Why won't they leave after this? But yeah, no, this makes me feel good because I was always more of a Mario and Luigi guy over Paper Mario. So, and this is what started that love.
Yeah, it's really cool to have. Well, back then it was like a handheld franchise and a console franchise, and they had two distinct flavors. And what was genius about this was like just putting one party member on A and one party member on B. Um, and that's been mixed up a bit now, but it was super clever and intuitive just to have this sort of mini game based combat where each button would control one character and the other character. I'd never seen anything like that before, and it's just so fun and interactive.
This was the game that I'd always wanted because it shared the light with Mario and Luigi equally, which was we hadn't really seen that beforehand. Luigi always gets dunked on, or he gets his own little adventure in a mansion, or they didn't really have a game where they equally shared the spotlight in a way like this, where they communicate with each other, where you understand like these are brothers, that they care about each other. Luigi got a lot of personality throughout this entire era, being the coward that he is, but also the one that loves his brother and is the better Mario brother. I'm not gonna throw shade around for anybody. But no, this is so good. The action commands came back. It felt familiar enough for me to Paper Mario that I got into it really easily. And the bros attacks, learning advanced bros attacks, venturing in not the Mushroom Kingdom. That was rare for the time. Not being in the Mushroom Kingdom, in the Bean Kingdom, where everything looks crazy. Everyone's got this crazy, wicked smile on them. Everything was named after like laughing puns, like the Chucklehuck Wood or Teehee Valley. It's very funny for me. That was probably one of the funniest games I'd ever played up to that point.
Yeah, and it's still such a distinct looking game as well. Like if you look at the Mario and Luigi series after this, they kind of they mixed into a very what's even the word? Just a very uniform style. The remakes especially, they don't have that wacky, eccentric look that the first game does, and I love it. Like you look at comparisons between Superstar Saga and its remake. The remake has like really nice lighting and everything, but I think it's like almost universally worse. It doesn't feel as bouncy and
these
animated.
are some of the most gorgeous sprites on the Game Boy Advance. Let's be honest, they animate so well. You got that amazing soundtrack, and then, I mean, maybe its longest legacy, the Mario gibberish speak.
Yeah.
The fake Italian and of Mario and Luigi is so great, and it's just something that continues even today to Brothership.
It's like the best example of using voice samples on the GBA, because the Mario Advance series are just like you don't want to hear that the whole game. In Link's the Past, they just throw young Link's sword swings in a like crispy way. You don't want to hear that the whole game. But Italian gibberish, iconic. I want to hear that in my sleep.
Whoever came up with that was brilliant. That's just so good. The game's just fun. I mean, it's definitely archaic in some ways going back to it now, but it has a simplicity to it that's really nice. Just a fun story all throughout. As Daniel said, Luigi getting that personality, Bowser expanding on his personality that was starting to be established through Super Mario RPG and Paper Mario. Like, he really gets to stand out here, I'd say.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the remake just feels a lot less full of life than this one does. The sprites, the art, it pops out so much more, and I'll always play the GBA version over the remake on 3DS.
Sorry, Bowser Jr.'s journey. We don't care about you.
Oh well. I also like how platformery this one feels, because Mario RPG feel like Paper Mario feels more like a standard RPG, where Mario and Luigi emphasizes the platforming and like dodging and whatnot. In Paper Mario feels a little bit more stiff compared to Mario and Luigi, because you're able to jump, counterattack, or dodge just about every hit, and that's something you can't do in Paper Mario, which I again added to that distinctness that, at least early on, led me to prefer the Mario and Luigi series.
Yeah. There's a few more Mario references in general. There's like callbacks to the first Super Mario Brothers, which back then we didn't really have any of that. Like Mario's just sort of kept evolving, and so to go back to near the beginning of the game, there's like a piece with the flagpole. It was like, oh, I missed that flagpole. We've not seen that in like a decade. Whereas now we see it all the time, but it was different then.
So novel back then, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of this game was novel back in the day, so I have a lot of love for it. So it was definitely my top 10, so I'm glad to see it here.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move on. We got our number 4 Game Boy Advance game of all time, beating out Superstar Saga by 360 points.
This is not enough votes. Not enough places even. I think we should break down what we have left, Daniel, because 4 spaces. I think we can pretty much say Pokemon Gen 3, Minish Cap, either Metroid Zero Mission or Fusion or both, and Sonic Advance. But we're also missing a lot of other big games in there.
Yeah, where's I guess you already mentioned.
I love when you guys reach this level, this point of the debates, because it's like, okay, what do we have left, and like what could make it? What could make
Wario Land 4 is really likely as well.
That is true.
I'm going to stick with Sonic Advance. I think that's Sonic always makes an appearance, and it's genuinely. I think it's just one of the. When you think of the system, I think a lot of people think of Sonic Advance. I'm going to keep that one in there, but there's too many other games that should be here.
I feel like no matter which one I'm going to pick, it's going to be the other one. So I'm just going to go for one of them. Let's go for Metroid Zero Mission specifically.
Yeah.
Let's see. Right. Let's see. Show me the Samus.
Show him the Samus.
Show him the Samus. All right. At number 4, Daniel, I'm not going to show you the Samus. And John,
I see.
I'm not going to show you the Sonic, because at number 4, The Legend of Zelda, The Minish Cap.
At 4?
Yes.
Oh my god.
I think Minish Cap it isn't flawless. Like it's got its problems, but I think it is iconic though. I think my problems with it, there's a lot of downtime between dungeons. There's a lot of things, a lot of going around. If you do a fresh playthrough, I think it's going to be a bit longer in the tooth than you remember it being. However, it's also just so delightful. The best sprite work on the GBA, I'd say. It's a utterly gorgeous game.
Yeah.
And the Minish setting is beautiful. Like when you shrink down and you go through like a barrel, and it's just like the most beautiful thing you've ever seen in your life. And that shrinking mechanic also makes for some really interesting dungeons. Making like even just basic Zelda enemies feel like a threat, like the Chew fight. There's lots of really cool things in Minish Cap, and it's done by the Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages team, so you get some of that flavor back in there. Some of those items like Rock's Feather with the cape in there are back. It's a very distinct Zelda, and it kind of evolves that Game Boy formula in a really cool way.
Yeah,
and you can roll.
Yeah, rolling is nice. It feels like it uses its button limitations so much better than the Oracle games. Granted, it has 2 shoulder buttons to use as well, but it doesn't feel like it changes that much. But it just feels like the balance is finally there for it. But go ahead, Daniel.
I think Minish Cap learned to kind of Capcom that worked on this game as well. They learned to kind of stay their hand of requiring so many different items in certain situations. They kind of limited themselves, so you're not always shuffling out like 5 or 6 different items to solve a dungeon, for example. But yeah, this has like probably the most comfortable opening I've ever seen in a Zelda game. You're with Zelda, she wakes you up, you go to a little festival, you're just on a miniature date with her, just hanging out, and she like she gets you a little dinky shield. Even the vendors are like, no, this is ugly, do something else.
It's the best Zelda relationship. Skyward Swords is good too, but I think this one just feels more personal than that.
Yeah. There's so much about it too. Even though Zelda kind of doesn't do a lot for a lot of the game because she turns into a rock, it does not introduce, but it also has not Ganondorf in it. It has Vati. It gives you a different villain this time.
The origins of Vati. So
and
there's introducing 4 swords.
Yeah, there's like the little Picori village has lovely music. So much lovely music in this game.
There's some great tracks. Yeah,
as you mentioned. It does a great job of immersing you to feel like you're small, but using just sprite work. As John was saying, when you're really small, you're going through like a little pathway. You see the leaves over you with the shadows on there. If it's raining, the drops are dangerous. There's just a lot of creative and fun ideas that I love when I go back to this game.
It's one of the most gorgeous games ever made in sprite work, not just on the GBA. And
Mm-hmm.
Fujibayashi, the director of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, made this,
Yeah.
as well as the Oracle games.
He started at Flagship, so that's
yeah,
Yeah.
he was a Capcom
there's-
guy and then just became this.
yeah,
It was kind of incredible. I know the kinstone mechanic is definitely something that's a little different for people because you need so many kinstones in order to see everything, and some kinstones are required and other ones aren't, and it can be a little bit overwhelming or just annoying for some people, but I think it's one of those that just like you get into its vibe and it's like, yeah, I'm down for this. Like there's a lot to do, but you're right, there is a lot of downtime because I believe there's only 4 or 5 dungeons in this game.
yeah. It's a pretty slim core adventure, really, but there's a lot to do in between that stuff. Sometimes a bit too much, but I still think it's fantastic, though.
Oh yeah.
And it has connections to Four Swords, which is also a great game.
Mhm.
And there's almost like a little trilogy, isn't it? Four Swords Adventures, and Minish Cap.
A little bit. Brilliant
yeah.
idea, by the way, to use again. It started in Four Swords, but to keep using the Wind Waker sprite for young Link in sprite form, great idea.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, that's sort of the tradition of keeping that Toon Link art style for a lot of games. That was used for many, many titles beyond that. The most used art style of Link throughout the Zelda series.
Yeah.
But yeah, just
Yeah.
so comfortable. This is one of the only Zelda games where Link can go back to bed, and it's the best thing ever. You go back
Yeah.
to sleep, and then oh my god, you're in bed, and then next to you is Eslo in there as well. We didn't even talk about Eslo. He's just in the bed with you, and you see Link wake up, and he turns over, he shakes Eslo awake, and then he kind of gets the sleepies out of his eyes with the hat on, jump out of bed.
Yeah.
It's so adorable and done with so few animations with sprite work. It's just a masterclass in comfortable.
Yeah, it really is. And Eslo's a great companion throughout. Last thing I'll say is just more of a funny tidbit thing, because there was a lot of complaints back in the Oracle games that the minecart sections were so slow, which explains why in Minish
now
Cap,
they're
he's
super
just flying.
speed.
He's just like, if you're wondering why it goes that fast, that's why. People complaining about Oracle minecarts being too slow. Which I love that
GBA
detail.
minecarts, just like Golden Sun. That was too slow. I wish it went at breakneck speeds, just like Minish Cap.
I love it. But yeah, hallmark of the system by far. So there we go. All right. We've reached our top 3 Game Boy Advance games of all time.
Oh no.
John, Daniel, what is number 3 with 4,639 points, beating out Zelda by a little less than 300 points?
Well, Daniel, do you think a Mario Advance game made it this far? Do people associate them too much with other systems to put them this far in the top 10?
I'm trying to think if the demographic that we've asked would have been playing those games back then, because I definitely have like pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
And also, like, which one would be the one that is the
It
one
would
that's
be
up there?
Advance 4. Advance 4 would be the one in the top 10. No
Yeah,
doubt.
I guess that way earlier, but I that's kind of didn't expect it would have the potential to be up this high.
I'm sticking with Sonic. I think people want their portable Chow Garden. They want to play card games. They want to memorize the cards. I think that's what they want.
Oh my goodness. I'm going Pokemon Gen 3 for this one.
If that's here and not a number 1, then that's gonna open up the table to a whole other discussion.
I've been surprised by these choices already, so you know what? We're going for it.
It's been interesting.
I'm feeling like this is Metroid, but let's lock R2 in and we'll see what happens.
If you were going to say it was Metroid, John, which one would you say?
Zero Mission.
Okay.
Fusion, I think it's a cool game. I don't think it's the better game, though. Zero Mission's like the perfect 2D Metroid.
Okay. Well,
If we're
at
going for
number
original
3,
titles, I would have said Fusion. If we're going for totally original titles,
Yeah,
but
true.
but at number 3, Metroid Zero Mission.
Cool.
There
All
it
right. We take it.
This is why I asked.
Zero Mission is just delightful, though. I just to give the original game some credit, though. I quite often hear that Zero Mission replaces the original. It does not. We're talking about whether
It is so different.
it is so different. It's basically an original game. Like it's barely a remake. So much of the original is not intact, mechanically and in level design and in basically everything. It is a vague recollection of the original that does its own thing almost entirely. But what I love about Zero Mission, though, is it's really short. It's a really snappy game. You can make your way through this incredibly fast, even if it's your first time. And it just feels like you're going from height to height constantly. There's not really any downtime. It gets a little bit more linear. Like you go to a Chozo statue and it shows you where to go. But Fusion, I feel, was way more extreme with that. Whereas this still kind of vaguely points where to go rather than just tells you exactly where it is. But it's a really good balance. And then you get that whole Zero Suit thing at the end. But I just feel like this is the snappiest Metroid. And I think if I'm to replay one, it's probably going to be Zero Mission.
Yeah, I didn't really get into Zero Mission until it was on the Wii U Virtual Console. That's when I first played it, and I was immersed by that. I had a lot of difficulty with the original to the point where I was just like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna beat this game. One of those NES that games that doesn't age very well unless you go in with a certain mindset and preparation for it. But I think Zero Mission was a wonderful way to experience this. I mean, you could tell someone that they don't really have to play the first game if they don't ever really want to, and just play this game instead. This also has an added portion beyond the main story where you play as Zero Suit Samus as well, which just completely changed how you play, because now you're on the defensive. You're kind of sneaking around because you don't have the capabilities you would with the various suits. And I love that
It's
as well.
It's a reverse power creep, which is cool. Because like in most Metroid games, you gradually get stronger and stronger and stronger. But this, you get the reverse. Like in the beginning of most Metroid games, you lose your powers, but you get that in the epilogue here. And then you get that sort of desperate feel to get your powers back, which is really cool. Yeah. And you just feel stronger afterwards. You get that vulnerability.
Oh, you're stronger than ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish they would do that more often, honestly, where they kind of flip you on its head with that.
I like it when games do that in general. Like in Skyward Sword, when you land in Elden Volcano and you lose all your items, I liked it. People complain. I thought that was a cool, different
change
game.
up your
like
perspective
catch off
for just
guard.
a little bit. It is fine to do that.
Yeah.
Not the whole game, but just a little section is great. I can just give you that variety and like realize how much stronger you've gotten without that stuff, or with that stuff or upgrades that you've gotten. But with Zero Mission, I know it's in conversation over time. It has risen to the point where I think people have almost like considered this better than Super Metroid, which was always crazy to me. Is like when it started like, do I like this more than Super Metroid? Which is certainly an interesting conversation to have.
Yeah.
But I played this on a bus trip back to my school because we went on a trip to New York for my high school. And I went to the Toys R Us in Times Square, saw this game was available at that point, picked it up, played it the entire bus ride home, and it was just brilliant. I beat it. As John said, it's short. I beat it on that trip. the back. It was like, this is amazing. I love this. This is so good, especially because I had tried the original Metroid via the unlockable feature in Prime and Fusion combining with each other, and I was like, oh, I can't get this. But playing through this is like, oh, this is more like it. This is what I like. And I think that's why people say it's replacing it, because it's more modern. Like it's not different. It's not exactly the same, but it's essentially getting the story in a much more modern sense, and it's just fun. I would definitely claim this is more fun than the original Metroid.
It's more fun than that's not even in question. But I do think people should play the original too. I think it'd make your appreciation for this grow even more, to be honest.
Probably
because you get the contextual differences for what it's actually remaking, and the original is great in its own right. They're two very different flavors.
For sure.
But yeah, Zero Mission for sure the better game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, we are down to the top 2 Game Boy Advance games of all time. John, Daniel, what is number 2, beating out Zero Mission by about 250 points?
Is I don't know an acceptable answer?
No, it is not.
All right.
I feel like at this point it probably has to be something that comes from like a remake kind of game. Maybe this one is Mario Advance 4, Mario Brothers 3.
Because what else would be higher?
I don't know what would rank higher, honestly.
Yeah. Pokemon's almost certainly number one. I'm not going to guess that here. But I kept guessing Sonic. I don't think Sonic got this far.
You don't want to guess Monkey Ball Jr.?
It could be Monkey Ball Jr. I don't think Rhythm Heaven got this far. I think Rhythm Heaven top 20, hopefully. I don't think... maybe
so.
Maybe it did. You know what? We're gonna guess Sonic again. maybe he made it number 2.
Half of your guesses were Sonic Advance.
I'm pretty sure
it's probably
from
Mario
7
Advance.
to this point, it's all been Sonic for
Yeah.
John.
I think he's here. I think he's lurking around the corner.
I want it just for you, John.
Daniel, what's your guess?
I went with
Did
Mario Advance.
you do Mario 3?
Yeah, Mario.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mario Advance
I'll go
4,
with that one.
Okay.
I can't imagine what else.
At number 2,
Don't be Pokemon, because I'm gonna have to guess again.
Metroid Fusion.
Oh,
Yep, I was a Metroid double pack for our.
he was kind of he was sort of nudging us on there a bit. It's like, which one do you think it will be? It's like, are they both an option? Fusion's cool. I think it's really unique. It's really, really unique. There's some great boss battles, great setting, unforgettable. It's a very distinct Metroid game. I don't think it's better than Zero Mission, but it's definitely more tied to the GBA, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It might be also people's first experience with the GBA, because I know I think I've heard more people say they like Zero Mission over Fusion, but maybe not. As Fusion is so distinct, and I think what might push it over the edge, because Zero Mission is just a great, solid Metroid game. It has all your base elements in there that are just done to perfection with that extra Zero Suit section. But with Fusion, you've got the SAX, and that leaves an impression in your mind because you're getting hunted the entire time. You are weak the entire time, like the Zero Mission. It's just you're slowly getting stronger, but there's still this thing that is so much stronger than you and will kill you instantly. And to be hunted by that at times, and have those chase sequences, I think that might leave an impression.
It does leave an impression. I think the SAX is not in enough of the game, though. A lot of it is the tension of, could it be there? And most of the time, no, it's not there. But there are. You're right. It leaves an impression for sure. I think my issue with Fusion, and this can also grow into a positive, is a lot of the time it shows you exactly where to go, and it's quite chatty at doing that too.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a lot less linear than any Metroid that isn't Other M, and it'll show like, hey, go to this dot here. Every now and then it's clever with that, though. Like sometimes it'll be like, go to this dot, but the SAX has blown up the section that gets you there, so you have to go off grid. And those sections are really cool, like going through an area that isn't on the map and you find your own way through. I think those are really good. But too much of the game tells you exactly what to do, and I don't love that.
Yeah, there's a lot of chatter within this game. Some of it I appreciate. Like you actually hear Samus is monologuing to herself when going from one area to the next. You don't really get any of that in any of most other Metroid games.
I think this is the first time. It's like, well, a little bit in Super Metroid, but you finally get a bit more of a characterization for Samus.
Yeah, you kind of get her perspective for certain aspects that you never really got before, and that kind of help builds her character more so than other games, because it's usually just your Samus just shooting everything up. But yeah, the parts with SAX are always the most memorable, even if they're not very plentiful. I do remember them very distinctly. Like when you're a little morph ball crawling underneath and you see SAX just kind of walking very slowly above you, and you're just like, oh my god, I remember those so distinctly. My experiences with Metroid titles are so all over the place. I think I played this for the first time because I had the Ambassador program on my 3DS. That was one of them.
Nice.
That was one of the many titles on there that I played for the first time with the smeary pixelization that they had back then. But yeah, I enjoy it quite a bit. I didn't expect it was going to be this high at number 2, but yeah, I mean, Metroid still, I mean, it does a lot of crazy, interesting things, and it was really it really captured an audience in this era. Amazing that it had 2 games on the GBA.
GBA was so good at this. Like we were saying, there's 3 F-Zeros, there's 2 Metroids. There's so many games that it introduced and then just did multiple of them of. And a lot of them are really different to each other, like Fusion and Zero Mission. Similar DNA, very different execution. I love them both. I don't want to downplay Fusion. I think Zero Mission is the better game, but Fusion is such a distinct one, though.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I just, it kind of built up my love for that. Again, to have this and Metroid Prime on the same day was just amazing. And what Fusion does for itself is so good. And honestly, we really can't discount Metroid. Maybe in the future we can start doing that, but Metroid has consistently ranked among the top. I don't think a single Metroid game so far has missed the top 10.
No, you're right. Yeah, they've literally all been here, and that'll probably continue. I think the Wii might get it. GameCube's absolutely going to get it.
Yeah, I think with Wii, we're gonna I don't know if Other M's going to make the top 10 on Wii, but
no, Prime 3 probably will.
Prime 3, I think, will make an appearance. But yeah. That is
Can we guess Wario Land 4 for number 1? Yeah. All
right.
Is that what we're going with?
Number 1? Is that what we're going with? Are we going Wario Land 4? That's obviously what's going to make a number 1. Daniel?
No, it's going to be Tales of Fantasia. It's going to be Tales of Fantasia. Why are you think it's not going to be? I hope I don't see Tales of Fantasia at all in this list.
They got a few votes, but it's not in the top 50.
It's going to be Kuru. It's going to be Wario Land 4. Yeah. It's going to be Sonic Advance 2. Here we go.
All right. At number 1, Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald.
What?
I'm so surprised.
You mean Pokemon 1?
On a handheld?
People
amazing.
What?
A mainline Pokemon game. By the way, I also made distinct sure that when people were doing their voting, to not have like multiple like Ruby and Sapphire in your top 10. I made sure I went through meticulously to double count it. So yeah, this is all for separate votes. Same for FireRed, Leaf Green. And it still beat out Metroid Fusion by 600 points.
Damn.
With 5,478.
I'm not surprised though. There was a time with Game Boy Advance and Game Boy where I think a lot of people just bought the systems for Pokemon, which is why I'm surprised that FireRed and Leaf Green were so much further up. But I had friends who maybe they got Mario Advance, but they didn't get Fire Emblem, they didn't get Zelda, they didn't get Sonic Advance. They pretty much just got it for Mario, Pokemon, and licensed games. So I'm not shocked at all. But Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald are also fantastic games. I don't know if they're my favorite gens, but I think they do have a very distinct flavor, and that whole too much water thing is part of it, because it's a very you spend a lot of time on the water. You're surfing around a lot. You're diving. There's a lot of
there's a ton of HMs to use.
There's a ton of HMs. Yeah,
it was. So it's interesting because Gen 3 is the first gen I skipped because I was like, I'm getting too old for this. I'm not going to play this game. So I skipped it, but then I came back with Gen 4 and then I was like, well, I should check out Gen 3, see what I missed here. And you know, I think I prefer Gen 4 over Gen 3 at that point, just because it was fresher and had more advancements and whatnot, but I could appreciate what Gen 3 did. There's some interesting Pokemon here, although it definitely follows a certain formula of, okay, this is our this type, this is our this type, here's our Pidgey, here's our Rattata, here's our, you know, that whole thing that a lot of Pokemon games do. But you get some distinct ones. And Hoenn is interesting. You know your father in this one. My God, yeah. You know your father in this one.
You've got a father.
Working dad.
Yeah. Who knew?
You've got ray tracing in this one. You go up to a pool of water, you see your reflection.
Yeah, I remember that being a big advertisement. It's like, look how much the graphics have evolved for Pokemon, that you can actually see your reflection.
Look at all this water.
Yeah.
But
God, I do think that
you've given it away to us. Look at Derek's shirt right now. He's been telling us the whole time what
I
number
did.
one is.
I did tell you. There's my little clue. But no, I think there's two other things. One, chat has mentioned, which was Emerald being the definitive version, so much to it, having both teams available to fight in that one, plus the battle tower, the battle frontier.
Yes.
That's a massive amount for just keeping you playing Pokemon. And then, lest we forget, I don't know how much of this that actually affects anybody or how their thoughts are, but this game was the birth of the Nuzlocke.
Sure. I mean, it's kept it alive in the present day for a lot of people. not really in its time, but years later on, people would do Nuzlocke, they do randomizers. Gen 3 has just lived on. It's lived a separate life beyond, just the standard game. Um, and I think what's really cool about it too is, in terms of like living on, this is where Pokemon had its reboot, really. Because with the Game Boy, you couldn't bring your Pokemon forward anymore. But from Gen 3 onward, you can go from GBA to DS to 3DS to Home to Switch. It's pretty miraculous what they achieved here.
It's
Sure.
it's an absurdly long process to do so, but it is possible
Yeah.
to do so. Gen 2, I was so involved with Gen 2, and I played my gold version so much, but I kind of dropped and fell off for Gen 3. Like similar to Derrick, I didn't really play until Gen 4 again when all my friends in high school were playing it. And I only went back to Gen 3 and got myself a copy of Emerald because I wanted to trade some of the Pokemon up from there.
Mm.
So I also, it just wasn't really, it's not really my favorite gen either. It might be one of my lowest ones, honestly. Just something about it. Maybe I wasn't in the right space for that. But I did very recently go and play Alpha Sapphire. And that helped made me get a better appreciation for Gen 3 in general. But no, I still think it's probably in the lower ranks of my favorite Pokemon generations. But what Emerald did was it was so good.
Yeah.
Being able to
I think
yeah.
the thing that is going to make Pokemon just a consistent powerhouse beyond the popularity of the series itself is that every generation, every set of games is somebody's first. And that
Exactly.
nostalgia is going to stick with you because if you got into Pokemon.
Yeah.
Mhm.
In 10 years' time, you will absolutely see a viral social post saying, like, oh, Scarlet and Violet was always the best one. People were wrong.
Mhm.
It happens right now. You're seeing it with X and Y. You're seeing it with Sword and Shield to an extent. It's the people who grow up with it just growing up and then sharing their memories. I kind of grew up with Gen 3. I didn't prefer it at the time to Gen 2. But I had a friend who was absolutely enamored. He had like I think like 1,000 hours or something. My sister and I would share a cartridge, so we would
Oh,
sort of
no.
play through a Pokemon game
Oh no.
and then delete the save file so the other one can play, and then keep doing that on a loop. So I never saved I never got to keep any of my childhood Pokemon save files, but I do have memories of just sort of seeing like what she would do and what I would do, and it was always very different takes. And I think there was a lot of variety in Gen 3 to sort of allow that. But yeah, I like it. Definitely not one of my favorite ones. I might have even ranked FireRed and Leaf Green a bit higher, to be honest.
I think
Yeah, I think so.
I could have sworn most people would, but I think that's just again, I it's hard to discount that original Pokemon nostalgia. So
True.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, there
so.
is our top 10 Game Boy Advance games. And I think it's a pretty solid list. I mean, obviously there's someone here that people would prefer instead, but that's always going to be the case. And that's how are you guys feeling about this top 10?
Where was Sonic Advance?
Well,
That's
we're gonna run through
number 11 probably.
Probably.
Well, yeah, let's run down our top 50 as per usual, and see where everything else placed. So, just missing out on this top 10 at number 11, with 1,875 points, and remember, Golden Sun had 2,046 points. Wario Land 4.
Oh,
It
barely
just
missed out.
missed the top 10. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
If it made the top 10 and Golden Sun didn't, I think like one way or another, there's a fan base that's going to riot.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's no winning scenario there, but Wario Land 4 is just delightful, and I think not having a 2D Mario just kind of makes it, more of a pedestal for Wario Land 4.
Stands out more, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Came to NSO recently, so give it a go. But it's just a delightful game.
Yeah, for sure. Number 12, WarioWare, the original Mega Micro games. So Wario was like right neck and neck with himself.
Yeah.
Wario was so fun. Yeah, the original one. It's always so fun to go back to. Just how unhinged it feels playing those games. The concept of micro games was like, why would I want to play a game that's like 5 seconds long? But then you play it and you understand the concept the more you do so.
It's like perfect for a handheld too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get the concept at all. I just like, here's a game where you like, it's just to pick your nose. I'm like, what the?
Yeah.
Why would I want to do that? And it's 5
Man.
seconds long. I was like, what's the point? I just didn't click with me until I finally played it, as Daniel said. So
There was a time where I had my original DS, the DS of the large one, and I had WarioWare for GBA on the bottom slot, and WarioWare touched on the DS portion. I was all WarioWared out at the time. It was a fun time.
That's awesome. All right. At number 13, Fire Emblem: The Sacred Stones.
Oh man, my sacred stoners, where you at, everybody?
Don't call them sacred
Hell
stones.
yeah! It's done. Sorry, Emblem Con has already coined the name because of me. I'm sorry.
That's amazing. At number 14, Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Brothers 3, which is a stupid title.
Yeah.
But I should also note the gap. So Wario Land was at 1800 roughly. WarioWare 1600 roughly, 1500 for Sacred Stones. It's a drop at that point where Mario 3 was at 1000 points. And then it starts getting much closer. There's a few here that are just like a point off.
I mean, this was the version of Mario 3 that I grew up with. I didn't play on NES. And then I didn't really appreciate its extra content until years later, though. It wasn't until the Wii U that I played all the e-reader stuff. And I think that's when it really gets cool, like just mixing all of the Mario Advance things together, like getting the cape, getting all these different things, plucking turnips.
This was the original Mario Maker concept of adding different assets into one game. Like I was playing this on stream, and I'm going through a normal Mario 3 stage, and then there's Charge and Chuck out of nowhere. I'm like, what are you doing here? Amazing.
Base Mario 3 for just GBA, fine, great version, just a good solid time, but it really is enhanced by having the e-reader levels. It takes it to another level, which I think is why it placed it quite a bit higher than the others.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right. Just 20 points behind it at number 15, Advance Wars.
Whoa.
Oh, okay.
I think it deserves to be here. It's a very, very cool game. And for some reason, I thought that in the West, people might gravitate to it more than Fire Emblem, but I think Fire Emblem has that continuous nature.
Yeah, that legacy at this point.
Yeah, the legacy.
And unfortunately, it might have had a chance to be reevaluated with the remake, but that remake was just had very unfortunate luck.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad remake. Yeah, just the timing of it all very unfortunate. But great games, and very unique games too. I
need to go back and play. I've never actually. I played a little bit, but I was still Fire Emblem in, so I was like not adjusting to the build your units combat, and they just go out and die, and it's whatever.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of an adjustment for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, at number 16 with 971 points, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror.
Wow.
Kirby. Man, I still want to play the Amazing Mirror with some friends over on NSO. That concept is so novel.
It's definitely faster, but that internet connection at times was rough.
It depends who you're playing with. I've had some really good experiences. Like playing Four Swords was pretty solid. But
just really fun to have.
It is too. You have friends playing with you.
Yeah, I guess it makes it for a more like digestible experience, having more friends and just clearing it in a fairly quick amount of time. Just having the massive map, so novel for Kirby. It's just like Great Cave Offensive, but even bigger.
Yeah. At number 17 with 918 points, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance.
I was wondering if Tactics was on here somewhere. I was going to put it in somewhere in the top 10, but I
wasn't sure if it was top 10 or not, but it's a good one. It is a
very good one.
A lot of strategy RPG games that were very popular on the Game Boy Advance too.
Do you think this is the console that kind of made them popular? Because I know PlayStation had Tactics.
It might have.
Nothing.
I think having them on the go really helped.
Yeah.
And up to this point, I can't really recall any like strategy RPGs that really stood out until the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, at least in the West, though, right? Like Japan had some, but over here.
For me, it was Disgaea, but I didn't. That was like that and La Pucelle Tactics were like the only strategy games I played on the PS2. But yeah, anyway, number 18 with 900 points, Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland.
Wow.
So very close to each other. Remake of the Kirby's Adventure.
Yeah,
pretty solid too.
Yeah,
Very,
Very good one.
very nice Spider works. At number 19 with 888 points, Golden Sun: The Lost Age.
There's a Lost Age.
So if I had decided to combine Golden Sun 1 and 2, it would have put it, just doing some quick math here, it would have beaten out Pokemon Gen 1 remake for number 6.
Yeah,
Wow.
but I imagine if people combine their votes, they probably wouldn't have said 2 games at once.
They might have said both,
Yeah.
so it might have shifted
think
the
they-
numbers a bit there.
Yeah.
I think where Golden Sun landed is probably where it would have landed regardless.
Yeah, probably, but there it is. If that's the way I kept it separate. All right, at number 20, with 879 points, John, here is Sonic Advance.
I thought this would be so much higher. It's basically Sonic 4. It's like a totally unique 2D Sonic. You get your new playable character with Amy.
Mhm.
You know, I thought more people associated this with the GBA.
Yeah, I thought it would put in a better showing too, especially with how much Sonic has dominated in the past. But no, well, still, top 20 still isn't bad, but yeah, it's still like it's surprising. I'm like, I kept going like, should I tell John that Sonic Advance is not in the top 10? But then you kept voting for it. It's like, this is getting funny.
Well, Press Plays Jason says Advance is the weaker of the trilogy. Got to be. Do you mean of the Mega Drive games? Because yeah, it's probably weaker than the Mega Drive games, but it's still really, really good.
Or
If
maybe
you mean
they're talking about
Advance 1 is the weakest of the trilogy, then
unless
I
you're
don't
talking
think
about
you're right.
the Rush trilogy.
I think Advance 1's better than Rush.
Yeah.
I like the first Rush a lot more anyways.
Yeah. All right, let's keep it going with number 21, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team.
Cool. Yeah.
Very nice.
Nice one.
The Blue Rescue Team was DS only, so you have a GBA version and a DS version.
Mhm.
At number 22, Mario Kart Super Circuit.
Mixed feelings on
No!
this one.
I'll be
Mixed
honest,
feelings.
I never played it, never got it on the GBA, but I
don't
went
need
back
to.
and played it to get footage, and I
Oh.
hated how it controlled.
I mean, yeah, it was impressive, you know. Here's portable Mario Kart. All the Super Nintendo tracks are back. Cool. Yeah, I think it's just kind of miserable to play. I know some people though who this is their favorite game because they played it so much growing up. They've adjusted to the controls. So I guess if you can get used to it, maybe there's something to love here. But I find it so slippery though.
I played this so much. For some reason, I guess I just enjoyed the fact that I had a handheld Mario Kart game after playing 64 for so long.
Which is fair.
But it's weird. It's like a reverse remake because you can unlock the entirety of Super Mario Kart's tracks on it if you compete well enough in the main courses.
Which is a great bonus.
It's cool. I'd rather not play this game.
It's like the introduction of retro tracks. So like it was cool that it did that. But
It's
it was
good
also
that it introduced it.
yeah, it's also logical that it did that though, because it kind of looked like Super Mario Kart anyway. So
Yeah, it just does not control. I still can't grasp controlling and drifting at all. Even today, it's a little bit too much of a leap for me from what we have today now.
Yeah, for sure. All right, at number 23, Sonic Advance 2.
I think Advance 3 might be better than Advance 2. Advance 2 is cool. Advance 2 is like really fast. There's lots of bottomless pits though, and not many enemies. So levels feel very empty despite them giving you a lot of speed.
Also, Cream the Rabbit is broken. It just destroys everything.
She's
in
a
her
really
path.
cool easy mode though. She's Tails with a projectile.
Yeah.
We really need to get the Advanced Trilogy on NSL then.
It'd be really nice.
We absolutely do.
At number 24, Advance Wars 2 Black Hole Rising.
Cool.
Wow,
More of the
more.
same, very much, but very, very cool game.
For sure.
Yeah.
At number 25, honestly, I thought this would put in a better showing. Mega Man 03.
Well, our first Mega
That-
Man.
Yeah, Battle Network and Mega Man didn't make like any of the top 20, not top 10, just barely slipped in at number 25.
I think I expected Battle Network to do a lot better.
I did too.
Because isn't the recent Battle Network collection the best-selling Mega Man ever?
Yeah, I think so. I think it just popped up and like it just
Yeah.
sold it crazy. But
Yeah.
maybe it's the fact that there's 6 games and there's that might throw things off that you don't have a focus point for
True.
that.
Right.
Yeah, Zero 3 is very cool. I think Battle Network is just, when I think GBA Mega Man, I think Battle Network. So I expect that to not be far off.
Yeah. We'll see where it lands, because at number 26, WarioWare Twisted,
Cool.
which we
That-
started getting
that-
our very gimmicky WarioWares.
I think that's the one that we didn't get in Europe. I'm pretty sure they didn't release
Okay.
it.
That's one I didn't play. Man, yeah. I didn't experience anything from WarioWare Twisted till I played Gold on the 3DS.
Same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. At number 27, Super Mario Advance 2, Super Mario World.
It's this is
It's
the
Mario
game.
World and portable.
This is the game where I started to realize that the colors were really off.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
as everyone knows, the original GBA was not backlit. You had to like stand over some kind of light to be able to see, and so to compensate, there's a lot of games that really turn up the saturation. I think Tales of Fantasia is one of the most like worst
Egregious
offenders of
one,
this,
yeah.
that kind of ruined the very muted, subtle coloration of the original. But Super Mario World, it kind of ruined it for me because of that.
I agree.
And yeah, I don't know, the smaller screen size, real estate, just a lot of little factors that kind of got in the way of that for me.
Mhm.
I was literally going to say the same thing. Portable Mario World, cool, but it looks really ugly on GBA.
Fair. Here's the crazy thing. It beat out The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past plus Four Swords by 1 point.
What?
Ooh. And
See, I
Four
would-
Swords is the far cooler game. Because not only do you get A Link to the Past in a pretty nice looking way, in Link to the Past 2, you can turn off the ugliness. There's a filter. You can go from really bright to not bright at all. But you get Four Swords, you get the Four Sword Dungeon. It's way cooler than Mario Advance 1, or whichever one it was. 2.
Mario Advance 2, Mario World.
Yeah.
Those confusing
Yeah.
names.
This was the first. This is the game. One of the ones where I first experienced it on the GBA, not on the SNES. So I was kind of, I kind of leaned towards it at some point. It was. I think I really enjoyed it. I love playing Four Sword Adventures when I could with friends, and it did some cool stuff in the main adventure too. It added an intro, compared to the
Yeah.
original. It actually it adds some more lore for Hyrule, which I thought was really interesting. I went back to the SNES version. I was just like, wow, it just starts. But
Yeah.
one question real quick. This is the Legend of Zelda where Link shouts with every single thing that you do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, what makes I see the comparison? Like, what makes this less tolerable than Minish Cap, which is the same Link voice that always yells at everything that you do? Is it
It's
also
because it's a
grating to you?
different Link in Minish. It's just the Ocarina Link again in Link to the Past.
Mhm.
It's
I
the
think-
same voice.
I think they used Wind Waker Link's voice for.
Yeah, Minish Cap
For
has a different
Minish
voice to
Cap.
Links to the Past ones.
Minish.
Minish Cap has it's
I
for sure
don't. I
different.
don't know for sure, but I've never directly compared.
They're very close.
Yeah. All right. At number 29, Sonic Advance 3.
Cool. What's cool about Advance 3, you can mix and match your characters, but also it's multiplayer. So if you've got a link cable, you can play the whole thing co-op, and you can go as far away from each other as you want to. So like you can
pretty cool.
play together, you can cooperate, you can use each other's abilities, or you can just see who gets to the goal first and play the whole thing together. I think that's
I've never
pretty
done
rad.
that. So
I
that's
always
really
wanted
cool.
to do that.
No, yeah, few have. Very
Put it
few
on
have.
NSO. Put it on NSO, and we can do that.
Some co-op.
Yeah, exactly. At number 30, Mario versus Donkey Kong.
I thought this might be higher.
Okay.
Yeah, especially because it got that remake not too long ago. But
Yeah, it is good too. Like it's the most DK94 of all the Mario versus Donkey Kongs.
yeah. At number 31, Rhythm Tengoku.
I thought this
Or
would be
Rhythm
higher.
Heaven.
This would be
Yeah, you were
Yeah.
expecting this top 10. I was like,
higher.
I don't think it was going to make the top 10.
Yeah, maybe it's
If
too
only, if
niche.
one Japanese only game was going to make the top 10, it was definitely going to be Mother 3 over
Mother
Rhythm
3.
Tengoku. And it put in a good showing, I thought. But
for sure.
at number 32, actually, this run is nuts. At 32, Super Mario Advance 3 Yoshi's Island with 396 points.
man.
That's the
Same
one
problem
version I
as Mario
played, and
World.
again, the visual
Yeah, not much to say, but for a while, this was the only Yoshi's Island we had re-released because they couldn't do the Super FX stuff until like Switch.
Yeah. 33 with 395 points, 1 point behind Mega Man Battle Network 3.
Oh, there it is. 3, huh? Okay.
Yep. 3. I think, according to Ash, 3 is considered the best of the series.
Okay.
At 34, again, 1 point behind that, at 394 points, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. This is one I thought it might do better, but based on the PS2 list. But no, this is still top 50, but not quite, definitely not as high as the other Kingdom Hearts.
It's so weird with this series, man. Way back then, you had the first game was on a Sony console. The second one is on a Nintendo handheld, and then it goes back to a Sony console, and then it goes back and forth between Sony handhelds and Nintendo handhelds.
And everyone has plot importance. Isn't it great?
It's great. Glad they have an all-in-one collection that they can't stop shoving down their faces.
Yep.
But Chain of Memories was fun. It introduced the organization and had some cool gameplay. I like doing the card building, deck building with slates and all that. It was interesting for me.
I got the feeling I definitely prefer this game on GBA to PS2. I think it's much easier to play and understand in 2D.
Again, this is the only place it released in Europe. There's no PS2 version until the HD collections.
That's so weird.
It was Cloud's first appearance on a Nintendo console. Or
that is true.
That's all it matters.
That is true. At 35, Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire.
It's cool that this made it pretty high up.
Yeah. Pinball.
All the major Pokemon games hit the top 50, so there you go.
It's better than Mario Ball, Mario Pinball. That was
there were votes for Mario Pinball.
Of course,
I don't think enough to make it a top 50, but yeah. 36, Kururin.
This deserves to be higher. This is a rad little game.
You need to play. I'll need to start playing this on NSO.
Do you think this not releasing in America has affected it a lot?
I think it probably has, but also I don't know how well when Americans pick up a game called Kururin.
Probably not. And like, there's no story really. You're just playing as a rotating little line, aren't you? But it's so good as a handheld game.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many that would have benefited from releasing like more widespread. Climax would have definitely been higher if it released worldwide as well.
Mm-hmm. At 37, Drill Dozer.
Hey, Drill Dozer
is cool. Yeah.
Nice little choice. At 38, Harvest Moon, Friends of Mineral Town. And I wrote in more Friends of Mineral Town as well, since it's basically the same, except you get to play as a girl.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Tied at 39, the original Super Mario Advance and Fire Emblem, The Binding Blade.
The Binding Blade. I forget.
This is Roy's game.
Yeah, I wish it was
where he's like the worst lord.
Mario Advance 1 is funny because it's not quite as a direct port of like the Mario All-Stars versions as some of the other Mario Advances. There's a lot of stretching and things, like they're showing off some of the GBA's capability in this one. Sometimes in funny ways.
Yeah, they definitely go wacky with this one, which I didn't know as a kid. Because because when I first saw this, I already have Super Mario Brothers 2 on my NES. Why do I need to buy it again on the GBA? Not realizing all the changes they put into it. So I kind of missed out on it. I should try it on the NSL. But this is actually Roy's game is actually when they started to shift to become a bit more easier for people to play. It was still kind of hard, and there's a very specific things you have to do if you want like the good ending to get like side chapters and all that. But the longer the series went on, like that's why Blazing Blade became so friendly to beginners. And the fact that this is even an option on NSO, if you beat that game and you have data, you carry it, or you can carry things over to the Blazing Blade. You can skip Lynn's story on your first playthrough. That's all tutorial. Nice. So things like that made it. It's funny that Lynn's is basically there for us people that don't know or understand Fire Emblem to learn. Yeah, which is a shame because I like Lynn's story. It's a shame it's all tutorial. But oh well.
But it's Lynn, so we cared.
It's Lynn. I'm very happy this made the top 50. At number 41, Astro Boy Omega Factor.
I've heard this is good. I've never had a chance to play it, but I've heard really good.
It's a treasure game. That's all you need to know. It's Treasure doing an Astro Boy game.
Awesome.
I've played it a little bit, and it's a lot of fun. So I don't know if this would ever come. I highly doubt this would ever come to NSO. So you might need to use other means, but
Right.
there you go.
Yeah.
At 42, Castlevania Circle of the Moon.
Oh wow.
It's definitely there's definitely a gap between the Castlevanias, rightfully, but
Oh, yeah.
this is a good one though.
Right.
Yeah, it's a bit stiff in my opinion, but it's still fun. At 43, Final Fantasy VI Advance.
Cool.
Oh.
I played my only Final Fantasy on GBA was 5. That's like one of the first ones I played after 7.
Oh wow.
Hmm.
My only one on GBA was 4. Just goes to show
Oh,
you
that's funny.
how many they put out on here as well.
Yeah, they had 1 and 2 on here as well, so they were loaded up with Final Fantasies on the GBA.
I assume it was a good port. 6.
Yeah, I think people like are down on the music, but you do get a new dungeon, all that stuff. But yeah, 214 points for that one, by the way, because it's notable because at 44, Dragon Ball Z: The Legacy of Goku 2 with 212
Oh
points.
my god, I have that
Whoa.
as well.
I only had the first Legacy of Goku, which was not good, so I never picked up the sequel. And then I found out later that, oh god, the Legacy of Goku 2 is actually really, really good. Damn it.
Yeah,
I've only played the bad one.
I still have my box is right back there, and there's like a tiny pathetic little poster that came with it in that little GBA box that I still have. It was great.
Yeah, I think they put one in the original as well, so I had that one. So that's just funny. At 45, 2 points behind Legacy of Goku 2, Final Fantasy V Advance.
Oh.
Cool. This was our first localization of 5, right? In English.
Well, no, we had Final Fantasy V on that's through Chronicles on PS1.
Oh,
I don't know if Europe got that or not, though.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one, but this is the definitive version of 5 for a while, because the translation of 5 on PS1 is not great. The loading times are not great. This got rid of Varys's pirate speak, so it's much better in that regard. It also has the line. This is the originator of the line from Gilgamesh. It's like, it's time we fight like men and women who dress like men.
Classic.
So, gotta love it. Anyway, at 46, 4 points behind Final Fantasy V, Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance.
Okay.
So that was my first GBA Castlevania. I like it, even though it's really easy, but
I think it's just kind of fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's
a good time. At 47 with 200 points, Sonic Battle.
Battle's
Like
pretty
Battle.
good. Battle deserves more respect. It's an Advanced 3 are like a duology, so you kind of have to play them both to get the full Sonic story.
Again,
Lord.
hey, hard to play multiplayer in GBA for the most part, so put this on NSO.
Yeah.
At 48, Mega Man 0. So the original one. 49, Mega Man Battle Network 6.
Getting all the Mega Mans at
Wow,
the
we're
end.
all down
Yeah,
here.
now we're getting them. And then rounding us out at number 50, Banjo-Kazooie Grunty's Revenge.
Pretty cool one. Like,
I was wondering if it was going to be here.
it's kind of Banjo 3, right?
A little bit.
Yeah, it's unique.
That's what we got.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all we can cling on to.
I think it's pretty fun. It's not Kazooie 2 tier, but it's got some cool things it does. There's quite a few like isometric GBA games. Spyro and Crash got some too, instead of Rayman. I know Spyro definitely. I don't know if Crash did, but Rayman got one as well. And it's funny seeing what they did to make sort of 3D GBA games. I think this one holds up pretty well.
Yeah,
I'm
I've heard
glad we
good
got
things.
it. Like I'm glad you're gonna get it. Yeah.
I have a feeling it'll probably come to NSO at some point, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a few that you guys might be wondering on. F-Zero Climax was 51.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Where are the F-Zeros?
And it did the best of all the F-Zero GBA games.
I am surprised by one thing, Derrick, because you've been warning us about licensed games. You're saying like the system is full of so many licensed games. I didn't realize, but I think only like was Dragon Ball like the only one you mentioned?
Dragon Ball and Astro Boy were the only ones I mentioned. I say that because trust me, I was counting a lot of individual licensed games for a long time. That rounded out a lot of the GBA's like extended library as I was going down. It's like I'm seeing like, oh, here's Shrek the Third, Lord of the Rings, Two Towers. Here's all the SpongeBob games. Here's Lilo and Stitch, and all these others. Hey Arnold the movie, that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's Piglet's Big Game getting votes. That's that sort of thing. So that's where I was coming from. Is like I was getting like individual numbers for those, and it was like, oh my god, it never ends. But that was the top 50. Again, to round out, which almost made the top 50, we got Dragon Ball Advance Adventure, Mega Man 04, Mega Man 02, Mario Golf Advance Tour. The original Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, which did premiere on the GBA, actually got 141 points.
Man, you don't quite realize how varied the Game Boy Advance is, because there are quite a lot of games that I think that should probably still be up there.
Yeah.
Sega had some really good ports. Choo Choo Rocket on the GBA is really cool.
Yeah.
House of the Dead got Pinball of the Dead. What else? There's so many cool games.
Again, we got those Crash Bandicoot games. We got the Densetsu no Staffy games.
Klonoa Empire of Dreams was on GBA.
That got 97 points. So a little bit of way from that reaching that point. But yeah, some really good stuff in there. But
I'll always dunk on it, but at least the fact that I was able to play Tales of Fantasia on the GBA, that was only on Super Famicom at the time. It's the only chance I ever had to play it. Still, at its core, it's still a good game. It's still like it has a lot of stuff you learn from being at the first Tales of game. But man, they added the English crunchy audio. I'll never forget how crispy crunchy that audio was way back then. And the opening cutscene is so funny because it's translated so not good.
It was the first Tales of game I ever played.
Oh wow!
A family member got it as a gift just on a whim. I didn't ask for it. And I was like, so this is Tales of, huh? I think I'll stay clear of this series for a while.
I was fortunate to start with Symphonia.
Do you remember when it's like, what the heck is that? It ends here. Indignation.
Daniel shouted out a cool game earlier. Monkey Ball Jr. is like it's all of Monkey Ball 1.
Yeah.
It's really impressive for GBA. It's 3D.
That's great.
Obviously, like you don't want to play Monkey Ball with a D-pad. Really, you have to like add a speed up button. But where did Monkey Ball Jr. land?
So just to have some context here, again, Grunty's Revenge got 177 points. Monkey Ball Jr. got 64 points. Compared that to, I saw somebody ask about Sword of Mana, that got 55 points. Tales of Fantasia, 48 points. Hamtaro Ham Heartbreak, 135 points. So it hit the top. It hit the top 60.
Nice, Hamtaro.
Any other like curiosities? Empire of Dreams got 97 points. I saw somebody that mentioned Mega Man and Bass that got 42 points.
What about Gunstar Superheroes? Where did that land?
Gunstar Superheroes got 109 points.
Oh, pretty big.
So I think it might have barely made the top 60. I think. I think Sonic Genesis got 1 point, one vote. Like, it got on somebody's list, but it's not high at all. We got votes for like Doom. We got votes for Wolfenstein. We've got votes of lots of Yu-Gi-Oh games got represented here. The SpongeBob games, Metabots. Some votes for Saberwolf.
We had Banjo. I was about to say Saberwolf. Yeah, I was going to say Rare had quite a few GBA games.
But yeah, that's our lineup of the Game Boy Advance. It's an interesting little system for sure.
Yeah, you don't quite realize how much variety GBA has until you list it all like that. And a lot of those weren't ports. A lot of those were original games.
Yeah, for the majority of the top 50, it's original games. Maybe a few ports, but it's honestly kind of impressive how the original games did just stand above.
Yeah, and it wasn't like it lived 3 years and that was it. But it's still impressive though, because 2001 GBA, 2004 DS, but obviously GBA lived after 2004. But the quantity and variety it got in such a short span is just bonkers.
Yeah, the utility of the GBA will always impress me. Just the fact that all the other stuff you could do with it beyond just the Game Boy, Advance games themselves. They had the e-reader, of course. It had stuff you can scan on them. That was a novel idea. Things like the obviously Mario Advance 4 and the Eon ticket. I still have one of those somewhere lying around. Connectivity to the GameCube. That's the best way to play games like Four Swords Adventures, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles,
Pac-Man
Versus.
versus.
Yeah. There we go.
The best one. But yeah,
You know that reaction image where there's people going like, and then like, that's them reacting to the folded arms thing is Pac-Man versus, and I think they're nuts. I think they're nuts.
They didn't
They're
understand.
cheering for Twilight Princess and they're booing at Pac-Man versus like a bunch
dare
of
they.
simpletons.
Charles Martin is saying Pac-Man got the power pellets.
Exactly. How can you fold your arms in disappointment about that?
Can't believe it.
I Eats Dragons asking about Yoshi's Topsy-Turvy or Universal Gravitation. That got 24 points.
Oh.
Not a lot. But yeah, that is our top 10 Game Boy Advance games. So I'll be curious to see how everybody thinks about that. Sorry to Wario Land 4 fans. I know you were rooting for it, but it really came down to two fandoms. It was either Golden Sun or Wario Land. And that's good luck. But next time is going to be interesting because we're going to the original Xbox.
Ooh.
Oh man,
This is your chance to vote for multi-platform games that didn't make it onto PS2 or I guess PS2 and on GameCube yet. But there's some cool Xbox games. The cool Sega stuff. Halo, some cool first-party stuff. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here, but I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Halo is going to dominate, but that seems pretty likely. But I hope stuff like Panzer Dragoon Orta gets a chance to shine. Jet Set Radio Future.
Outrun 2. There's some cool From Software games like Otogi. That's cool.
I guarantee some people are going to vote for Steel Battalion.
Yeah. Ninja Gaiden Black.
Oh,
But
yeah, Ninja Gaiden Black.
You vote for your game. We're not going to tell you all.
Oh, yeah,
of them.
we're not
You
going
vote
to tell
for
you,
what-
but we're just putting out there. It's like, what could make that top 10? So
that should be a fun one.
Yeah, I'm curious how that one's going to go. It's our first Xbox system, so let's see if people come out of the woodwork for the Duke. As the UK call the giant Xbox One the original controller the Duke like we did.
I don't know. So I didn't hear the word the Duke. I only heard it online. I never heard it in person. So I don't know if it was just something we picked up from you or people actually said it. I'm not entirely sure.
I had friends that actually said it, so it was a legit thing.
It's like we just made it up.
But yeah, thank you so much for being here for this discussion, this top 10. I love doing this series. Thank you, Daniel, for being here and enjoying this guessing game that is hell, and just for fun.
Yeah, I can't wait for the next time I join in one of these.
It won't be long because we have you signed up for GameCube. So
right,
that's my system right there. So can't wait for it.
That'll be interesting to get to that one. But yeah. At any rate, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to GVG, hitting that like button and ringing that bell. We also have a Patreon at patreon.com/GVGaming with plenty of extra perks. So until next time, for the Xbox, bye.
bye.
Till we meet again.